I'm starting to think I have spooky friends. After the story of Aunt Mary, it reminded another of the following experience he had. I don't know if those two stories are related, but they're certainly connected by their strangeness. The names have been changed to provide some privacy. Each and every day, we make 1,000 myriad decisions affecting our lives. Most of them are trivial. Even seemingly important decisions get evened out over the course of a lifetime. Good things come from our bad choices, and vice versa. Once in a while, though, we're faced with a real inflection point. A moment where our very fate is condensed into just a simple yes or no decision. A fight or flight response. A single flip of the coin on which your life changes. I've known Brad now for a couple of years. He's the quiet, serious type, a radical contrast to the wild, brash teenager he was many summers ago. Mark and Jason were his two best friends he raised hell with back then. They were so close that everyone referred to them as the Three Musketeers. After graduating from high school in 1996, they suddenly found themselves with more free time than they knew what to do with, so they spent it challenging each other to dares. They just had one simple rule. Whatever was chosen, they all had to do it. All for one and one for all. Which resulted in the three of them streaking naked through nursing homes, shoving their mouths with entire packets of cigarettes at once and lighting them, doing the cinnamon challenge while rip-roaring drunk. The best stunt they pulled was telling some road construction workers that guys dressed as policemen were coming to prank them. They followed up by calling the police to report that pranksters dressed as road workers were going to close down a street. The resulting hour of chaos earned the Musketeers an overnight stay behind bars. That moment should have been their wake-up call to reconsider what they were doing with their lives. But Jason had one more dare in mind. Just outside of town was a forested area where hikers would occasionally pass through. Spanning across a wide river, there was a former railway bridge that was converted for walking. Lacking any lighting, if you stood in the middle on a moonless night, both ends would be so shrouded in darkness that the bridge would seem to stretch to eternity. Which is why it was a popular place for suicides, and reputed to be one of the most haunted places around. A new moon was approaching, and Jason wanted a midnight visit to prove they hadn't lost their nerve for adventure. Though Mark had some reservations, Brad readily agreed. All for one and one for all, so they committed to go. Getting to the bridge was via a lone stretch of road that wound its way through the forested hills. With Jason at the wheel, they passed the time by sharing ghost stories to psych each other out. So when they spotted a lone figure ahead, in the middle of the night, in the middle of nowhere, their nervous laughter turned to sudden dread. With tales of phantom hitchhikers fresh in their minds, Jason pushed down on the accelerator without waiting for debate. There was no way he was stopping for a stranger that night. The last they saw of the unkempt figure was it limping and waving as it diminished rapidly into the distance. Most likely a homeless vagrant, they rationalized. There were some war veterans that came back with post-traumatic stress disorder who failed to readjust to society and made the woods their home. Though they were more freaked out than they would admit, stubborn pride wouldn't let them chicken out. They stopped the car in an empty tourist parking area near the bridge. It was a cool night, but their chills were more from the fear in their minds than the air around them. Grabbing their only flashlight, they trekked towards the bridge itself. By the time they got to the center, it was clear they were alone. There were no lonely souls looking to end their lives that night. From where they stood, the ends of the bridge did indeed seem to disappear into infinite darkness beyond. Their first few minutes passed with the sound of water lapping at the base of the bridge. They waited and strained to hear any sounds of ghosts from people who'd jumped to their deaths. Below. Nothing. Several more minutes pass in uneventful silence. Eventually, they relax and start their usual playful banter. They joke about the hitchhiker and how he probably wanted to lift to the bridge so he could jump. More minutes pass. Their adrenaline rush had faded to tedium and boredom. "Well, we did your lame-ass dare, Jason," Mark boasted happily. "You lose. You owe us $20 each." Yeah, dude, I know. I know you're busting to get that $20 blowjob," Jason retorted. "Nah, he's itching for $21 blowjobs when that homeless dude shows up," taunted Brad. "Well, you can just blow..." "Shh," Jason suddenly hissed. "Can you hear that?" It sounded like someone was calling their names from the opposite side of the bridge they entered from. "Jason, where are you?" the faint voice carried in the air. Mark got up and started to edge back in the direction of the car. "I think we should head back and leave now." "It called my name," said Jason. "No one knows we're here. We should check it out." "Brad, you there?" the ghostly voice continued. "Okay, that can't be a coincidence," said Brad. "Someone we know might be looking for us. We should check it out." "You're outvoted, Mark," argued Jason. "Besides, I have the car keys, so you're not getting anywhere. Let's go." They all headed towards the other bridge exit. "Hello? Who's there?" Jason yelled, but to no answer. "You know, there are some ghosts that lure you in to..." stammered Mark. "Shut up for a moment, Mark. You're not helping," Jason interrupted. Reaching the other side of the bridge, they found no sign of any presence but themselves. Continuing their journey along the trail, the flashlight casted looming shadows across the trees. "There's no one here," Brad whispered. "I agree with Mark now. I think we should head back." "All right, guess it's my turn to be outvoted," replied Jason as he turned around with his torch. "Hey, where's Mark?" "He's right beside me." Brad spun around. Mark wasn't there. "He was there a moment ago, I swear." "Mark?" Jason yelled. "Are you pissing behind a tree?" No response. "He might have chickened out and gone back to the car," Brad guessed. "Help!" came the phantom voice, seemingly from behind them. It vaguely sounded like Mark's. "Where are you, dude? This isn't funny," shouted Jason. Dead silence. After several more minutes of waiting and searching, Jason had enough. "Mark, we're heading back to the car. We'll meet you there," he yelled. They made their way back across the bridge to the car park. Mark wasn't there either, so they waited in the car until sunrise. Very worried by this point, Jason and Brad headed back across the bridge to look for Mark with the help of the early morning light. Without any luck finding Mark and fast running out of options, Jason and Brad decided to head back into town to get help. On the drive back, they spot a figure lying on the ground beside the road. The hitchhiker. Daylight gives everyone more courage, enough for Jason to stop the car to help this time. Approaching the body, to their surprise, it was Mark. With his clothes torn and filthy and his face stubbled as if he hadn't shaved in days, he was unconscious and almost unrecognizable. They drove him straight to the hospital. He was so dehydrated that he was close to death. When he finally recovered, they asked him what happened. That night, Mark had followed them across the bridge and along the trail. He had only glanced back towards the bridge for a moment, but when he turned around, he was alone. He concluded that Brad and Jason were pranking him and hiding behind some trees. He yelled out for Jason and Brad, but got no response. He checked around the trees, but could see nothing. Suddenly, he heard the rustling of approaching footsteps. Relieved, he followed the sound, but saw no one when he was near. Now completely disoriented, freaked out and alone in the dark, he cried for help. He would hear the footsteps approach, but would never see who was making them. He tried to outrun them, but sprained his ankle and bruised himself running into thick branches. For 3 days, the footsteps tormented him, until he had stumbled onto the road one night. He limped along, wishing for a car to pass by and take him home. He was overjoyed when he saw the lights of an approaching car, even more so when he recognized it as Jason's. But that soon turned to anger and frustration as he watched it accelerate straight past him without a hint of acknowledgement. He passed out along the road soon afterwards and woke up in the hospital bed. The Three Musketeers disbanded shortly after that. To this day, Mark believes that Jason and Brad had abandoned him to the forest for laughs for 3 days. It was a prank he'll not forgive them for. Jason also thinks it's a prank, but by Mark in return for being outvoted on the bridge. Mark must have spent that morning walking back to the road while Jason and Brad were worried sick and looking for him on the bridge. As for Brad, he has a different theory. That night in the car, they were caught up in a wrinkle in time. Time may not be the straight line we think it to be. Perhaps, like a great river, it has whirls and eddies which loop back seamlessly and sweep some random few caught in the tides. Maybe that night, the ghosts they heard were the echoes of Mark, caught in those swirls. Perhaps, more frighteningly, at those popular suicide spots, the victims themselves never chose to die. Fate flipped a coin, and the location chose them. If not for a fateful decision to stop the car, Mark might also have become another victim. In the end, maybe time itself is the prankster, was playing tricks on us all. If you made it this far, I hope you'll follow me on Twitter at KingSpookCreepy. Also, if you're feeling generous, I'd appreciate it if you donate even $1 to my Patreon over at patreon.com/kingspook. Every dollar helps. The hope is eventually I'll be able to get enough through Patreon that I can do this full time. Thanks for watching.